What's going on, guys, and welcome to This Week in the Shop, where we sit down at the end of the week and talk about weird or interesting things that happened inside a Mopar dealership shop throughout the week. And we actually kind of had some interesting things today, some reoccurring things that is absolutely nothing new, but I haven't talked about before, and a couple of new things, or at least a new thing that we did. So, starting off with these very weird, unassuming items. These are our electrical star connectors. Now, that's a very fancy, lovely name for basically, these are small, electronic bus communication devices. All of our interior electronic modules all need to be able to communicate with each other. And they all then will plug into multiple of these basically bus bars, if you will, throughout the vehicle. So each module can communicate. They can all be on the same communication bus to be able to work and have the vehicle work correctly. Now, it's a really nice system. We've had this, gosh, since 2014, maybe. Someone maybe will correct me, a Mopar technician down in the comments. But these are, again, there are different locations in every vehicle, and they're spread around in weird different locations, but they actually are really, really nice for diagnostic reasons. If we've got one electric control module causing an issue, whether it's shorted out, whether it's whatever, taking the vehicle's electronic the vehicle's electronic system down, we can go through and unplug individually each connector, which is plugged into a corresponding module, and unplug one, unplug another one, continue unplugging until, whoa, all of a sudden we've got the issue fixed, or all of our communication comes back. We know we then have this wire unplugged that is connected to the body control module, and we can really isolate and do really nice diagnostic with this system. So why are we talking about this when we're supposed to be talking about things with issues? Yeah, these things give us issues too. So by issues, this is just a inside this thing. Maybe I'll crack one open and have pictures there, but this is just a electronic circuit board with connections soldered onto the board. And you guys might know where I'm going with this. What do things do that are soldered onto electronic circuit boards with hot, cold vibrations, hitting bumps, doing all of that for X amount of 100,000 miles? Yeah, we get broken solder joints on these things. And then that also causes electrical communications issues. Now, I, again, primarily am only working on Jeeps. So our Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Gladiators, we see more so in the early JLs, whether that be 2018, 2019, 2020-ish, with these, or with the vehicle coming in with some goofy, weird electrical issues. Intermittently you hit a bump and all the lights come on the dash, and you can shut it off and start it back up again and everything will be fine. And then it kind of does it the next time, the vehicle is started up. Now, these two specific ones that we, for whatever reason, have a lot of issues with are located behind the glove box door. There is a green one and there is a white one. And when we have a vehicle come in with these issues, we replace both. One, I believe, is for drivetrain items, and the other one is for like interior bus items. Don't quote me on which one's which. Again, we replace both behind that glove box, and that resolves like 99.9% of vehicles' issues, at least, like I said, with our Wranglers and Gladiators. So that is just something again, And again, we see it a lot with temperature change. When it starts getting warm outside or when it gets really cold outside, that circuit board is, kind of expanding with heat, etc. Those solder joints are opening up, causing issues. And that's when we see these things come in. We had like a rash of them, like 2 or 3 of these in a couple of days. All 3 of those vehicles got these 2 star connectors replaced, and they were on their way with no issue. So something to think about in the future of car repairs is not only just computer modules, but you've got circuit boards connecting the computer modules that can also have issues, have cracks, have connection problems. And Jeeps, of course, never go off-road or get in water or get rained in, which probably isn't going to do these very much good either. But something to, again, look out for. Another nothing new here on Jeeps, but just recently had a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I believe it was a 2020 model with poor AC performance. Again, we have a whole bunch of components under the hood with an AC system. We've got hoses, we've got a compressor, we've got a condenser there in the front. We will often see leaks with a condenser there at the very front getting hit with rocks or a line leaking. But when we don't have any of those leaking, there's one other component that is in the dash that isn't terribly expensive, but the labor is real bad to do. Again, I'm talking about the AC evaporator core, and that's exactly what I had on that 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I've got some pictures of the evaporator. They didn't picture very well. You can see some really light yellowy kind of green hue to this AC evaporator. In person, it was a lot more vibrant. That is the AC dye that is in AC refrigerant. Once I got the dashboard out of the vehicle, the whole dash laying in the front seats, got the HVAC case out, I was able to, of course, open that up, pull the evaporator core, and again, confirm my suspicion or my diagnostic that we had the evaporator leaking. So that couple $100 evaporator for that part is unfortunately, $1,000, $1,500 worth of labor with current shop rates to remove the dash. It's a big ordeal. It's unfortunate. We do see that occasionally on any make and model. It doesn't matter if it's a mopar, whatever. Anything is susceptible to an evaporator leaking. That is often a real bad job to do. And unfortunately, that one got done. I do actually think that customer had bought an extended warranty. They were at a factory warranty, but somewhere along the line, they had purchased an extended warranty, and by God, good thing they did. I'm sure they had a $100 deductible for that warranty, but got that dash yanked out, got the evaporator replaced, and they were on their way, hopefully with a little bit more cool air blowing out of the dash this summer. Now, I've talked about myself being a Jeep technician, but occasionally other Mopar models find their way into my stall, and I had a Dodge Charger with a vibration under acceleration. Now, again, this is absolutely nothing new. The Dodge guys in our shop replace these things all the time. Over the last few years, there has just been an absolute ridiculous amount of Dodge Charger and Dodge Challenger drive shaft vibration. Now, the vibration doesn't come from an imbalance issue. It doesn't come from a front or end joint coming apart. It comes from the center carrier bearing, which is a rubber encapsulated carrier bearing that tears and allows that drive shaft to basically flex in the middle and vibrate like mad. Now, why we didn't have drive shaft issues way back in the day when LX body Charger Challenger 300 came out in what, '05? Is that first year? '05 through, gosh, I mean, it seemed like forever there was no issues. And in the last X amount of years, 2, 3, 4 years, the amount of drive shaft replacements has just been absolutely outrageous. Now, if the vehicle is in the 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty, you're good. It's free, it's covered, but a lot of those vehicles are finding their way out of warranty, whether that be by time, by mileage, what have you, and then you're buying a drive shaft. So again, this is not a new repair. This is not a new thing. I just rarely ever work on Chargers and Challengers and happen to work on one. And again, get to finally replace a rear drive shaft for myself. Luckily, not too bad. Again, this one was under warranty. It got removed, unbolted, slid out of the way, and thrown back in. But you can see this picture here of that center rubber carrier bearing that is basically torn all the way around, allowing that drive shaft to kind of flop around when you accelerate. Now, last but not least, we had a first in our shop. Now, you guys have seen me talk about the Jeep Wrangler 4xe and our Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe battery replacements. Now, no, we have not done a bunch of those, but we have done a few. But we had our first Chrysler Pacifica hybrid battery that needed replaced. Now, the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid, that thing's been out, I believe, even longer than our Wranglers and Grand Cherokee 4xe. And yes, we've had some issues with them, some transmission issues with them, which recently got a ridiculously extended coverage warranty on those transmissions. So, I mean, they really haven't been too bad. Luckily, I'm not one that's ever working on those things. But again, we had one come in with a weird check engine light code and it needed a battery replacement. Again, hybrid stuff is typically covered, I believe, 8-year, 100,000 mile on the hybrid powertrain items, whether that be electric motor, battery, yada, yada, yada. There's a whole number of things covered under that EV or hybrid powertrain warranty. I believe this one, again, was covered and it needed a battery. Now, we cannot just go into our parts department and say, hey, get me a hybrid battery coming. If the parts department attempts to order a battery, it will be rejected, refused, declined. We as technicians have to get with the tech. It's called Chrysler Star. It is the technician help service, basically, that we can get with Chrysler when we've got problem child vehicles or issues that we can't get figured out. But in this case, we have to use it for parts authorization. We have to say, hey, I need a battery for this hybrid Chrysler Pacifica because it's setting this code. We have to send them a few reports, scans from the vehicle showing them, yes, it's got this code, it needs this. They might have us check a few other items before we put a $13,000 battery in something. And if I recall, that battery was $13,000 in this hybrid Pacifica, but they, again, finally approved the battery, sent us a battery, and that technician luckily found out they are really not too bad in a hybrid Pacifica. Once you get all of the belly panels down, you get some coolant lines, some high voltage connections undone, couple of bolts, you lower the thing down, you put the new in, you plug it in, and you're back off to the races. So probably the easiest battery replacement out of our three hybrid vehicles, I would say. The Pacifica, like I said, looked to be the easiest. Then you would be a Wrangler 4xe would be the next. And then the worst one is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a dual saddle pack where there's connections going through. You've got exhaust in the way. That's not good at all. So just kind of a cool, interesting thing that we finally had one there at the shop. So guys, that is kind of all the cool, interesting things that I saw this week. And yeah, some very unassuming little connectors here that can cause you a whole lot of problems in your day-to-day. And again, these are not just on Jeeps. They are on our whole lineup. Again, I wish I knew the year model range for star connectors. But again, the last 10 years or so, whether that is on a Dodge Ram, a Jeep, a whatever, that is how our bus wiring communication system has been for the last hot minute. Now we have just recently changed over to Atlantis bus versus our star connector style, and those aren't very cool, but these were really, really nice to use for diagnostic purposes. So guys, thanks for coming down here and listening to me yap about my day to day throughout the week at a Mopar shop. And guys, next week we'll hopefully have some more cool stuff, and who knows what'll happen. So guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.